Welcome to Grammar, y'all. Today, we're going to talk about playing with punctuation, and we're going to do that within something called the 6-word memoir. So today, I'm first going to tell you what a 6-word memoir is, then I'm going to show you how play and punctuation can work together. Next, I'll model how you can introduce the 6-word memoir and punctuation to your students. And then finally, we'll talk about the unbound possibilities that your students can have when you teach them how to play with punctuation in their own writing. So this 6-word memoir originated with the Smith magazine in 2006. But the story goes even further back, and I will say this story is based on folklore. It begins with Ernest Hemingway supposedly in a bar, shocker, shocker, winning a bet with someone. Someone said, "Hey, Hemingway, I bet you can't write a short story in 6 words. Myth goes that this is what he wrote. Now, y'all, I don't know about you, but that is definitely a story in 6 words. So the founder of Smith Magazine, Larry Smith, took this idea and said, why don't we write memoirs in 6 words? And thus was born the 6-word memoir. So when we ask our students to write a 6-word memoir, we have to be patient with them. To summarize your life in 6 words takes some time, thought, and trust. So my first recommendation is to come with your own 6-word memoirs ready to show as examples to your students. Here are some that I've used with my students in the past. I thought I knew, I don't. Slowing it down, nothing is forever. My truth, I love every moment. Look over there, let's go there. Why never grows old, questioning good. So if you notice from my examples, I have some interesting grammatical moves happening here. First of all, I'm loving the fragments. In my examples, I have several different punctuation marks that you want your students to play with, like parentheses or semicolons or colons. I have some quotation marks. In your examples, you want to make sure that you have lots of different punctuation marks that students can see at play. So then you set students loose. The more examples they have, the better. 3 or 4 is ideal, but if your students can only get 1 or 2 down, that's brilliant as well. Make sure you leave your examples on the board while you're asking your students to write their own. After students have a few examples of their own, it's time to show them what you have done with your 6-word memoirs and the punctuation in them. You want to give students a little talk at this point and say, I'm going to ask you to do the same thing with your 6-word memoir that I'm about to show you that I have done with mine. Tell them that the only rule that I applied to myself was that these 6-word memoirs still have to make sense when I change the punctuation. Then you're going to show them your examples and you're going to do a think aloud. So the first example up here is the example that I initially showed students. Here I'm going to talk about how parentheses kind of adds a whisper to a statement, right? So I thought I knew something. That sounds really bold, and I got my period there, and I'm saying something, and I'm sure of myself. And then the parentheses kind of give a whisper of, I don't know. So in the second example, we have a semicolon. I thought I knew, I don't. That semicolon brings a little bit of connection between those 2 sentences, right? That we didn't have before. Semicolons only happen in sentences when those 2 sentences have meaning together. So all of a sudden, I'm telling you that those 2 sentences have a relationship with one another. The third one I really love because in my initial examples, I didn't include a dash, and I love a dash. A dash is bold. It kind of announces something in an everyday way. I thought I knew, da 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 da, surprise, I don't. And that last one, I thought I knew, colon, I knew I don't, changes the entire meaning of my 6-word memoir. And so it's good to throw a couple of those in so you can talk about how does this change the meaning and why would I want to change the meaning? So you want to do these think alouds with students with your own examples and how you changed your punctuation. You want students to hear how you're thinking about the fact that these different punctuation marks are saying different things before you set them off to do their own. So if your students need a little more scaffolding, feel free to use this list for your students. Put it up before you ask them to change their own punctuation so that they can get an idea of what these punctuation marks are really doing. Okay, I'm not gonna lie, you might need to give your students a little bit of a pep talk at this point, depending on how confident they are in grammar, because being set loose to go play with grammar is something most of our students have never been asked to do. So make sure you tell them that they're awesome, that they know where these parts of sentences begin and end, and to trust themselves. And you know what? Even if they only change a period to an exclamation point, that's totally okay. We all have to begin somewhere. After students have had some time to play around with their 6-word memoirs, have them share with other students and have them practice talking through what they think changed when they changed the punctuation. As they're doing this, walk around the room and see if you can find some really good examples. Ask the students if you can use their example, take it up to the front of the room, and talk through why those punctuation changes are particularly effective. And that's it. That's how you introduce students to grammar, punctuation, and play. Thanks so much for joining me today. Y'all take care of yourselves.